This is the code to create immutable class. Let me check the requirement first. The first requirement is class must be final. So let's start with the final class, and that is student. One more requirement is what? Whatever you declare the variable, it must be private. So let me declare my variable, that is private integer roll number. See, the class must be final, then data member must be declared final and private. So I need to declare my data member, that is private final integer roll number, private final string, that is name of the student, private final. Now I want the data, and that data is in a map. Why? Because for the deep copy. So I'm just creating here map for the two key and value. One is the key is also a string, value is also a string. Let me give this variable name is metadata. Now whatever user pass into this particular class, it means I will get the input from the user, integer roll number, string name, and here you can declare the map, and the map with the two data type, one for the key, another for the value, and the name is again a meta. Generally what we writing over here, that is this dot rno equal to rno, this dot name is equal to name, this dot metadata is equal to metadata. But remember, this roll number and name both are not you can say that the roll number is that is your primitive data type. This is also you can consider it as, but this is not primitive data type, this is the reference data type. And what happens with the reference data type, whenever you change it over here, right, the value will be changed into actual, right? Let me give you example how we can deal with this. For example, I am creating here one class, and that is demo1. You can consider this class as a driver class. Why driver class? Because from this particular class, we want to run this particular instance of class student. So I'm just creating a class that is a demo1. Now here you can simply create the instance, that is map string again, and that is my map is equal to new map. And that we cannot do a new map because it is an interface. So I'm writing here new has map, key and value, which we already discussed about this earlier. Map dot put, I'm just putting the key, that is we already discussed the thing, the same I want to discuss for Gujarat. The key for the Gujarat key value is Gandhinagar. Gujarat is unique within the India. Let me write Rajasthan. Then here the value is Jaipur. Right. Now let me write here another value, and that is Maharashtra, and the value is Mumbai. Now students, I'm creating here an instance of student class, student s1 equal to new student. It means I'm trying to passing the value in a constructor. Let me pass, for example, 101. The name of the student is Ram, and I'm passing the metadata, that is map. Right now you can simply print your value. For example, I'm just printing system.out.println. Now I want to just get the metadata, so I'm calling the function get metadata. You all knows very well, whenever you print the get metadata, definitely we need to create the function to return the value. So let me create the function, because here the variable is private, you cannot access it directly. So let me create the function over here, that is public get metadata. Definitely a return type of this particular function will be map string. right? So it is the return type, and let me read in simple, that is metadata, and this is the variable name. What we did, nothing. See, I just created a map. I just passed into this particular constructor, that is roll number, name and map. I'm just initializing all these things. I'm trying to fulfilling the requirement. For example, class must be final, data member must be declared final and private. Use the parameterized constructor to initialize all the fields. Deep copy, right now we are not talking about this. And the fifth, no setters. Yes, there is no setter method available over here. So simple class it is, that is student. See, whenever you pass here, that is roll number, name and map. So your map value will be passed over here and it will be assigned to your metadata variable. And let me print the get metadata, what it is doing, that you can check on your command prompt. So let me compile this particular program, that is demo1.java. Definitely it will give me an error. And the error will be what? Cannot find the symbol, and that is map. Yes, absolutely right, because I need to import the package, that is util package, because we are using the collection. Let me compile again. Whenever you compile this, the program will be compiled successfully. Then you can run Java demo 1. Here you can see that the Gujarat, Gandhinagar, Maharashtra, Mumbai, Rajasthan, Jaipur, the value is coming perfectly. Now, what is the problem with the deep copy and shallow copy? What is the concept that I was talking about? Students, what happens? See, I'm just passing the map over here. Now I'm just trying to change the value of a map. For example, I'm just doing what? Map dot put. I'm just trying to put map dot put. Now I'm just passing the key, and the key is, for example, Tamil Nadu, and the city is, for example, Chennai. Let me get the metadata again. Students, I'm directly changing into the map. I'm directly changing into the map. It must not affect my actual data of the student. But what happened in the case, here you can see that the Tamil Nadu is inserted over here. Why it happens? Just because of the shallow copy. This copy is known as a shallow copy. And by default, what happened? Whenever you pass any value, the value will be changed. See what happened? Understand the scenario in detail. Whenever you create the instance of student, it means this record of the map must be editable by student object only. Outsiders cannot change the value of map. If they are making the changes into the map, does not affect the value of the student. Right now what happened? I'm just creating the instance of student. Parallelly, I am changing the value into the map and it making the changes into my actual data. This just because of why it happens, because by default copy is the shallow copy. Deep copy is done, but deep copy is happened with the only primitive data type. By default, in the case of the reference data type, this is reference data type, and in the case of the reference data type, by default it is a shallow copy. Now we want to make the deep copy, then we need to understand what a deep copy is. So it is very simple. In the case of your reference data type, you can do what? You can create here in a constructor. Here in a constructor, you can just put the comment over here. Why? Because it is a shallow copy. I don't want to do this. I want to make a deep copy. Why I don't need to change over here? Because by default with the primitive data type, it is a deep copy. So in the case of the primitive data type, there is a no problem at all. But in the case of the reference data type, we need to make the deep copy. So how to make the deep copy? Deep copy means what? It means whenever user change into this particular map, it does not make the effect into my actual student variable. That is what I want. So let me make the changes over here. How we can do? Here we can create an instance of map that is temporary. For example, let me create a map string. This is temporary map. Now I want to create the new has map. So I'm just creating the new has map of string. Right? So this is my temporary map. Now I want to get the each and every entry from this particular metadata, and then I want to put it into this particular temp map. So how we can do this? Simple. You can write here for loop. Here in for each, you can write map dot entry of string. See, understand very well. Map dot entry of string entry colon metadata dot entry set. So what it will do? It will retrieve the entry set. It means it will retrieve the instance of set. And so set will be set to, that will be the pair of the key and value will be available one by one in this particular variable, that is entry. And how we can do this? We can simply write entry dot get key. It returns me a key. If you write here entry dot get value, then you will get the value. Now you can simply pass, if you have a key and if you have a value, then you can pass it to your temp map dot put. Here in temp map dot put, you can pass key and value. Now instead of this, that is this dot metadata equal to, you can pass temp map. It means what happened? Whenever the user pass, the value will be assigned to your individual value will be assigned to temp map, and it will be assigned to metadata. So whenever you make the changes to your actual variable, it will be make the changes into temp map, but it will not make the changes into metadata. This type of copy is known as a deep copy. Let me put here in a comment. It is a deep copy. And if you run the same program again, let me not make the clear the screen. Let me save, compile, and run again. You will be able to understand that the Gandhinagar, Maharashtra and Rajasthan, again the result is same. Gandhinagar, Maharashtra and Rajasthan. But in the case of the previous execution, the Tamil Nadu was available over here. Just because of, by default, the copy is a shallow copy in the case of reference data. How we can resolve this? Very simple. See, again, let me understand you guys. You can create the instance of your class. You can pass any parameterized in a parameterized constructor. You can pass any reference. Whenever you make the changes to your reference, it must not make the changes to your actual instance. That is what we want. But by default, if you are writing like this, that is this dot data equal to this, it means this dot metadata equal to metadata, then your changes to this particular variable map will lead to make the changes to your actual instance, and that is the reason why we need different copy. But sometimes we need a class to make them changes. So by default behavior is this. If you don't want to do this, then you can use this particular concept to get the value. You can set it into temporary, and then you can set the temporary to your metadata, and this class is known as a immutable class. Now you can see that the immutable class requirement is class must be final. Yes, I made it final. The data member must be declared final and private. Yes, it is private and final. Parameterized constructor must be there to initialize the deep copy. Yes, I have the parameterized constructor and I am performing the deep copy. No need to do here. Why? Because by default the instance variable, if it is a primitive type, then deep copy is always there. No need to make the changes into this, because by default behavior in the call by value, it means that the changes into any value that is primitive value does not make the changes to your actual value. That is the default behavior in call by value. but it not happens with the call by reference, and that is the reason why I need to do like this. If you want to develop your own immutable